And I want to give you some really great hydrangea tips today. And I especially want to tell you what not to do because there's a lot of times when we do things to our plants and it gives like the reverse effect of what we wanted. So I'm going to tell you a trick, what not to do so that you wind up not cutting off your hydrangea heads for next year. So here's the story, guys. So this is what my endless summer hydrangea row looks like now. And I'm going to show you how I kind of prune these guys back. I'm going to show you actually how I cut them for dried flower arrangements and for fresh flower arrangements. And I'm also going to show you a great tip on what to do with them when you cut them, how to keep them in the vase a little bit longer. And so we're going to cover a whole bunch of stuff today. And I wanted to thank Proven Winners for sending over these amazing, oh so easy roses. These gals don't even have to be pruned back. They don't have to be, well, you might want to prune them back, but you don't have to deadhead them throughout the year. So a lot of times with roses, you have to continue to deadhead them, but these gals will bloom from spring all the way through the frost without even having to deadhead them. But you can prune them back, but probably closer to like the end of winter, early spring. But that's a whole nother story. So like they were just sitting here and they caught my eye really quick. So anyway, here we go. So this is what my endless hydrangeas look like right now. And I love coming out here and I love cutting these for arrangements. But here's the story. The first batch of endless summers that usually come in on your endless summer plant they came in on what's called old wood. So this is what the stem looks like. This is a nice green, like new stem, but if you follow it down, it's on like this wooded stem that was actually in place last year here in my garden. So what happened was these blooms were put in place last year, probably around this time. And so what happens is next year's flowers are starting to form now, and you can start seeing like the plants starting to put out all sorts of new growth, little tiny buds everywhere, and some of those are going to wind up being your flowers for next year. So if you come in here and you trim back this plant for a flower arrangement and you take off like this entire stem and like you bring it inside and you cut it back really deep, you're going to wind up cutting some of next year's blooms off. And so that, that's problematic because you have this great burst this year and you might say to yourself, well, how come it didn't come back the following year? So a lot of times people will prune this plant back at the wrong time. So the rule of thumb is don't prune back your endless summer or like your Nico hydrangeas. Any hydrangeas that come in on that old wood should not be pruned back or cut severely for flower arrangements because you're going to be cutting off some of next year's blooms. However, I think a lot of you know that we sell our some of our flowers nationwide, and a lot of times I'll gift these, and I like to give these to like neighbors and friends. So I will make flower arrangements out of these. But what I'll do is I'll come in here and I'll take a look at, say, this like branch for example. So I've got this giant branch and it's got all these stems coming off of it. So what I'll do is I will make a beautiful flower arrangement, but I'll probably only use like maybe 2 blooms from here. And what I'll do is I might even make like shorter arrangements. So these stems are kind of short, but I'll make it into like a short flower arrangement, but I'll leave the rest of the blooms and the rest of the stems on this plant because I know that next year's flowers are already forming on them. And then here's kind of like what that looks like in a vase. So here's, oh, I'm so glad my comments worked today. Thank you, Hugh, because last time I couldn't read the comments. I did something wrong with my settings. So thank you for checking in. Guys, if you can, let me know where you're viewing this from. I love to see where you guys are from around the world, but you can just tell me like a general area, like what state you're in or which country. I would love that. And so basically this is what the short flower arrangements look like. And these are also cut in like a semi-dried stage. So don't be afraid to cut them back. Hey, Chantal, thanks for checking in from Oregon. Don't be afraid to cut them back at this stage. Just don't overcut them. And this is actually a terrific stage to cut them in from. Hey, Lynn. Hey, Cindy. Please make sure that you don't cut them when they're kind of like floppy. So when they're starting to just get started out, you want to make sure you don't cut them too prematurely because then they'll wind up flopping in the vase just because the petals aren't mature yet. So this is a fresh hydrangea bloom. These gals are all poofed out. This is a great stage to also cut them at. You're not going to get the dried flower arrangement from this one possibly because this one might wind up just wilting eventually. But if you can cut them in this semi-dried out, kind of like a papery stage, then chances are this arrangement is actually going to wind up giving you like a dried flower arrangement. And this is kind of a cool trick too. if you cut your flowers, if you cut your hydrangeas in this like, like semi-dried out stage where they feel kind of like papery, and you keep them in a cool spot, like away from direct sunlight so that they don't fade, they're going to look beautiful for months and months and months. But after a while, like I'd say like maybe starting like maybe December, January, even these flowers are going to start to fade. But you can always give them a little shot of spray paint. So they have spray paint, believe it or not, that's made just for flowers, and there's all different brands. This just happens to be the one that I have. There's a lot of them. You can find them in like Michael's. I have some on my Amazon shop. And guys, a lot of these things that I show you, like my florist power tips and things like that, I'll use like tools and stuff like this. I always have them listed in descriptions below on my Amazon shop page, and you can always find a lot of these gizmagoos. So what I'll do when these flowers start losing their color is I give them like just a little shot of this flower spray paint. Oops. And then it just kind of brightens it up. And like it's really fun to play with these guys because they come in like all different colors. They're pinks and blues, and it kind of just brightens up the arrangement, and it gives you like just a more beautiful flower. And over here I've got my Annabelle hydrangea. Now if you grow Annabelle or Incredible hydrangea, you might know that the best time to cut these gals is when they're semi-dried also. So this is what they look like. And these are a terrific hydrangea to spray paint, and I like the color fresh green for these guys because it makes them totally pop. I mean, it looks absolutely amazing when you spray paint some of these dried flowers. So that's like the quick florist power tip, and I'll even kind of spray them when I have them in an arrangement. I just make sure that I don't like hit every color because I don't want to like spray my Queen Anne's lace over here. I'm going to have a funky looking like green and white flower. So it's really fun to kind of play with these spray paints. But let me get back to this hydrangea over here. So that's like the number one thing. You don't want to overcut into this when you're making your arrangements, but you can cut some of them out. Now, here's the thing. That gal in the back is like nice and bright and fresh and purple. And it's like, well, why are these guys so old and dried out? And you've got this fresh one way in the back over here. Well, this is coming in on what's called new growth. So Endless Summer is terrific because they have flowers that come in on, like this, the old wood, but then they've also got flowers that come in on new growth. So I'm going to have a whole fresh batch of hydrangeas coming in just like a week or two, and they're going to be fresh and beautiful and gorgeous. So then the question is, do I want to leave these blooms in place or do I want to cut them out? So here's what I do with my hydrangeas. These guys that are still looking pretty good, I'll leave them in place and I'll just have the beautiful new blooms kind of, right in back of the older blooms, and it looks spectacular. However, a lot of these blooms got burnt up. So someone just put in the comments that their hydrangeas are all kind of browning. And listen, that just happens towards like the end of their cycle. They're kind of done with their cycle, and sometimes they're also done that they don't have enough shade. So they're kind of overdone from the sun. So these gals are in a lot more afternoon sun. They're in a lot more afternoon shade than these guys. So these gals are in morning sun and then afternoon shade, and they do the best with that. And take a look at like the underside of this hydrangea. I mean, it's just spectacular. However, these gals next door get a lot more sunlight. So they don't get as much afternoon shade, and they burnt up and they're kind of fizzled. And so listen, that's okay because you can't always have the perfect, place for your hydrangea. Like our yards are only so big. But what I'll do with this guy is I'll just give it a deadhead. And what I mean by deadheading, and it's very different than pruning, I'm just going to snip this deadhead. I'm going to snip this bloom off. Well, let me show you. Hold on. Let me grab my scissors. I have to say a lot of times I just, I'll come in, I'll just grab from my kitchen a pair of scissors. I should have like good snippers or professional gardening pruners, but I'm a big fan of working with what you got. And so I just grab these like real quick. So I just have a pair of scissors and I'm just going to give it a snip, right? I found a fresh set of leaves. I'm going to give it a snip and boom, that's done. So that's kind of totally just deadheaded. I'm going to take that weight of the flower head off the plant, and now the plant can put more energy into like the green leaves and the root system, so you can give it just like a quick deadheading. And I want to make sure that I don't go down too deep. I don't want to cut. If I was to, I can cut even like a little bit more, but I don't want to cut these gals because this is like going into like next year's plant already, like next year's flowers, next year's leaves. So I want to make sure that I don't, deadhead it too far down. So I'm just going to go once again down to like a fresh set of leaves. I'm going down 2 on this one. And boom, that's it. So deadheading is very, very different than pruning. And I made a whole video for you guys showing the benefits of deadheading, and I'll have that in my hydrangea playlist. Hopefully I can link it below. If not, I think I've got like 18 hydrangea care videos on my YouTube channel, so you could check that out. So I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna do like a little bit of deadheading, and that's what I'm going to do just to kind of clean up the plant. So that's the story with that. And I'm really not going to, I actually don't usually prune back my endless summer or my Nico hydrangeas at all. Some people like to do it for a recharge. So if you're going to recharge your plant, I think the best time to usually do that is like right after the flower, right after like the plant bloomed. So I kind of missed the boat with giving it a recharge, but I don't really think it needs a recharge because my plant's doing great. It looks super healthy. So I'm not going to worry about pruning it back at all. And I'm just going to leave everything intact besides some of the deadheading of the, like the spent blooms later on in the season. And then what I'll do is I'll take a look at the plant next year, like right around May, and I'll see if there's any like dead canes that are there. I'll take a look at all these like new growth stems that are coming in. I'll take a look at all the new guys, and the ones that are kind of beat up from like, any kind of like frost issues, I'll kind of snip those away. But I always wait until like May to figure out which ones, look really good. So that's the story with these guys. And who else is over here? Oh, I wanted to thank an anonymous Flower Tribe member. Thank you so much for buying me this cup of coffee. If you guys like my flower tips, you can always buy me a cup of coffee. There's a link in descriptions below for supporters. So thank you for that, and thank you for the kind comments on that supporters page. And I wanted you guys to know that I'm making an online course for you about how to grow beautiful flowers in your garden to make a cut flower garden. And I show you how to make all the flowers that are in this arrangement, how to grow them in your how to grow them, how to plant them, how to harvest them, and how to make these beautiful arrangements. So that's coming out hopefully August 5th. So keep in mind that date's coming up. And if you would like to get on my mailing list, you can get on that, and it will give you information about that. And I will have that in descriptions below. And take a look at, I have like a little link that says free PDF file, must-have flowers for your garden. If you put your email in there and you grab that free download that gives you like this, cute little PDF file, then you automatically get on my mailing list, and I'll let you know when that comes out. And it's actually going to be a really cute gift to give to people. Ruby says, when do you cut off the dead freeze? Oh, so I think your question was, when do you cut off like some of those dead blooms or dead stems that come when you have like that freeze? Like sometimes you get like that spring freeze where some of these new, these new little flower buds are coming in, and then we'll have like a cold snap and they get like all brown and they die. I always wait until May to cut them off, like maybe even like 2 or 3 weeks into May, because sometimes I've had like a cold snap and my hydrangeas look like really kind of brown and black, and they look like they're dead. And then all of a sudden, like 2 weeks later, it warms up and they pull through and they look really great. So I would wait to cut off even those, blooms that look like they got that winter zap. So I always like to wait, give the plant a little bit of extra time to kind of recover from that. But I also made a video about winter zap and explaining why that happens and how to prevent it. And guys, what you can do is you could basically grab some like burlap. And if you have problems with winter zap, where as your plants are coming in spring, and then you get some cold weather, and then it like freezes off all these beautiful blooms, you can just wrap it with some like burlap. So sometimes I'll put like a couple, like 4 poles in the ground around my hydrangea plant, and I'll just wrap either a sheet or burlap around it, and that will protect it from those super, super cold nights when it's springtime and some of that new growth is like really, just coming through, and you want to protect it. So that's just another quick floral power tip. And what else did I have to show you guys today? I don't think I showed you the alum powder trick. I just showed everyone over on Instagram this trick. So let me show you guys too. If you have a fresh bloom like this guy, I'm going to pull him out of this arrangement over here. And we actually showed how to make this exact arrangement on that flower course that's going to be coming out soon. So I've got this fresh bloom. So what I'm going to do is I don't have 2 hands right now, but I would give this a fresh cut. Like I'd cut the bottom of the stem, and I would dip it in alum powder. And I'm going to put it right back in the water. And now what that does, well, first of all, I got alum powder in my coffee. That's not good. The alum powder will prevent that stem from getting clogged up, because a lot of times those stems clog up from a lot of bacteria in the water, and hydrangeas are notorious for kind of like wilting prematurely in the vase. So alum powder looks like this, and you can just kind of get it in ShopRite or some of your local stores. It's like a pickling spice, and that somehow helps those stems not get so clogged up. So that's like just a quick florist power tip for you guys. And so, all right, so what else did I have to show you? I had a whole little list here. So we talked about spray paint, we talked about alum. All right, I think we covered a lot of stuff today. So guys, we're going to be going live again this Thursday, 10:30 a.m. I'm gonna try to cover some more propagating tips, because I know you guys are really big into propagating your hydrangeas and getting more plants from, like the mother plant. And it's so easy to do. It's actually like ridiculously easy to propagate hydrangeas and most plants. So I'm gonna show you some extra tips this Thursday at 10:30, how to get more hydrangea plants from your original plant. And please join us over on my Kelly Lehman's Flower Tribe Facebook group. There's gardeners from all over the world, and they're showing pictures of their own beautiful flowers there, and they're asking and answering tons of garden questions over there. So I appreciate you guys fielding the questions that I can't always get to. So thank you so much for that, and please hop on over there, and please say hi to us on our Cranbury Fields Instagram channel. And I will see you guys in the next video. Hopefully I'll see you this Thursday at 10:30 a.m. If not, I always repost these, and you can always watch the replay. So have a great day, Flower Tribe. And thank you, Gladys Johnson. You're watching from Chester, Virginia. I love when you guys check in. I just get such a kick out of that. It's so cool. You're really all over the world. How do you propagate a Rose of Sharon? Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. I know I said I was leaving, but I can't leave. Thank you, Angela, because now you're going to get me going. I had a rose of Sharon. Actually, I had like 5 Rose of Sharons in my garden, and they self-propagated. They did this all on their own, and I basically had like 50 plants from those original plants. And Sheldon and I went out there in the beginning of spring, and we dug them up, and we built an entire wall of Rose of Sharons on one side of our property, and they are coming in beautifully. So we basically got like 30 plants for free from our garden, because this one plant just self-propagated itself. So if you want to help it, I think it's like a similar method to like with hydrangeas, where you're going to see a lot of those stems, maybe they're kind of bent over towards the ground. I have a feeling that Rose of Sharons might, I have to look up how they actually self-propagate. I wonder if it's something with their root systems, or if they do something like hydrangeas do, where hydrangeas basically, the heavy blooms will kind of droop over into the ground. And then sometimes they'll actually start forming roots on their own if they're kind of covered by something. Sometimes I'll cover it with a rock. It'll have some dirt around it. Oh, I'm sorry, there's like this giant helicopter flying over my head. Do you guys hear that? Can you hear helicopters when they fly over my head, or is that just me? So basically, like if you take a look, I have a video telling you how to propagate hydrangeas, but basically that's it. You kind of lean it over into the ground, and you leave the top leaves on, you get rid of the flower, and you basically give a little bit of a scrape, like you'll kind of scrape this with your fingernail a little bit, and you'll put it in the ground. You can either secure it with like one of those gardening pins, and you'll bury it with some dirt, or you could just bury it with some dirt and put a rock on top, and make sure that some leaves are in place. And basically you're going to have like a brand new plant in just a couple of weeks. And there's also a method you can use by just doing like cuttings, and I'm going to show you more about that this Thursday at 10:30. And it's so super easy. It's so crazy. Oh, you've heard of that? Yeah, I know, right? Tanya's like such a crazy thing. They're admiring the farm. Thanks, Angela. Thanks for getting me started like on like a wild tangent about Rose of Sharons. I get so crazy excited telling you guys about some of these tips that I've learned, because I know how excited I get when I learn a new flower tip. So, all right, so that's the story, guys. I hope to see you this Thursday at 10:30, and we'll talk more about propagation methods. I'm going to try to give you some brand new useful information. And if you want that free PDF file for must-have flowers for your garden, take a look in descriptions below, and I'd love to see you grab that and get on my mailing list for our new course. Do I ever remove the white flowers or keep them? Oh, I missed that question. Let me see if I could pull it back. Oh, I lost that one. Sorry, guys, I lost that last question there. Oh, do you move the wilted flowers or keep them until it snows? Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so It depends. Sometimes I will come out here and I will just take a look at what's what. And some of them that still like they start to look brown after a while, so they're not that pretty. But I have to say, if they're like in good form, if they're in good shape and they just kind of lose their color and they're kind of brown, they look really pretty when the snow hits. So some of these I'll leave on. I won't even, bother doing the deadheading because they'll look really pretty with like the winter snow. Other times, like with my limelight hydrangea, those blooms are so giant and so heavy that when the snow gets on top of them, like it weighs them down and sometimes it cracks like half the branches off. So it depends on which hydrangea I have. So sometimes, I'll prune back the heavier blooms, especially on some of those big giant limelight hydrangeas. But for the most part, the same thing. I'll leave my limelight hydrangeas and my Annabelles alone, and they come in on, what's called like the new growth. So you don't even have to worry about any of this stuff with them. So if you want like a really hassle-free hydrangea, go for Annabelles, go for Incrediballs by Proven Winners. Actually, the Incrediballs have even sturdier stems than the Annabelles, but these guys, you don't even have to you don't have to worry about pruning them at the wrong time because they come in on, brand new stems in the beginning of spring. And the same thing with limelight hydrangea. I mean, if you want to talk about a beginner, no fuss hydrangea, then go for like limelights, Annabelles, Incrediballs, and they're like the white ones, and they're just so easy to grow. And there's also ones called Little Lime and Bobo that are smaller, shorter versions. Hi, is it normal for endless summer hydrangea blooms to fade from blue to green? Yeah. So these guys are fading from blue. They're turning kind of green over here right now. And so that's kind of normal. And it also depends on like the pH soil for the color that you're going to have with endless summer. So I actually added a little bit of one of those like color changers. It was like a soil acidifier to these guys to get bluer blooms this year. And this guy's a lot bluer than they usually are. And so the higher the acid, like the bluer these flowers are going to be. But don't overdo it with that because you can put so much soil changer or like pH altering like fertilizers in your ground that you can actually prevent your hydrangea from blooming. So don't overdo it. Like read the back of the package, or if you want to go more natural, like you can do like some coffee grounds that will make your soil a little more acidic. So I also made you guys a video showing you how to change the colors of your hydrangeas, so you could check that out. But you can't change the color of limelight and you can't change the color of Annabelle. Like the white ones, you can't really alter the colors. But I have some hydrangeas in the back. I don't want to walk over there because when I do that, I lose internet connection and then I lose you guys. So I've got some pink versions of my endless summer, and the way I got that was I added like eggshells to the soil because I made it more alkaline. And I also added like a product that I got from Amazon. It was like, I think it added like garden lime. And so, but all those products are in my Amazon shop page. You can check those out. And like the one that turns the hydrangeas blue has like a blue hydrangea on the bag. The one that turns endless summers pink has a pink hydrangea on the bag. So it's super easy. So, okay. I appreciate your questions. They keep me going. I look forward to them every day. You guys are such a joy. And please hop on over to that Kelly Lehman's Flower Tribe Facebook group. And we're also on TikTok now. I know, is that crazy? So we're on TikTok. I have a couple videos going up there, and we're trying to just, grow our flower tribe all around the world every day. So I will see you guys this Thursday, or you can watch on the replay. And thanks for joining us, guys. Thanks for all the comments, too. I appreciate that. Comments and thumbs up. I mean, that's the way to go. Thank you.